These are disturbing facts I bet you didn't know, part 1.
Up first, about 30 Americans die in elevators every single year.
This is extremely disturbing, especially because elevators are already creepy enough.
So, if you had a fear of elevators, this definitely made it 10 times worse. Next up is a very gross one. Bedbugs actually live in movie theater seats.
So, next time you go to the movies, make sure to check your clothes,
because a bedbug might hitch a ride with you home. Next up, bears use cemeteries as refrigerators.
They have been known to dig up bodies that are kept cool in graveyards and then eat them.
This is actually crazy, and I wonder how they know there's a body underneath the ground.
This might be the worst way somebody has ever died.
Okay, so there is a man who was trying to pick up a pretty big rock
when suddenly his intestines fell out. These are the scariest things ever found in the woods, part 1.
Up first is a man who wants to be unnamed, and when he was 12 years old, he made a very disturbing discovery.
As he was walking through the woods one day, he came across a dead homeless man's body.
His body was very decomposed and smelt very bad. He never told his parents or the police, most likely because he was super scared and didn't know what would happen if he told anybody. Up next, two friends, who want to remain nameless, were hiking a popular spot next to a 150-foot waterfall in the woods
when they suddenly found a 22-year-old woman with her face down in the mud. Her legs were completely broken, and she had no cell phone, food, or water,
and was still alive. The two friends then called 911, and the girl was taken to a hospital. They found out later on that she also had a friend who fell from the waterfall. Her dead body was found 100 yards away.
These are facts that can maybe save your life one day, part 3.
Up first, condoms are useful for a number of reasons. If you need a quick way to store liquids, they can actually hold up to a gallon of water.
Plus they are waterproof, so they can safely store things like matches,
electronics, and pretty much anything that shouldn't get wet. Up next, if your water ever smells like cinnamon, do not drink it.
People often use cinnamon to cover up the scent of poison.
Next up, you can always dial 911, even if you have no bars.
Because in an emergency,
your phone will connect to any nearby cell tower as long as it has battery in it.
This might be the most disturbing case of all time.
This is the death of Alyssa Lamb, and she disappeared on January 31st, 2013.
She was staying in the famous Cecil Hotel. Hotel staff saw her the day of her disappearance and said that she was alone.
But on the morning of February 19th, Alyssa Lamb's body was found in a water tank on the roof. Her body was moderately decomposed and bloated, and there was no signs of any physical trauma or sexual assault.
Nobody knows what happened to her, but there is this very creepy video of her in an elevator. Many people believe that she was playing the elevator game, which is a paranormal game, and she was hiding from something paranormal. This might be the worst way somebody has ever died, part 2.
Up first, a stripper named Jewel has extreme lower back problems because of her breast implants. She takes a lot of drugs and alcohol to relieve her pain.
One day she then went into a reclining rack to help relax her back, but her boobs end up suffocating her to death. This might be the worst way somebody has ever died, part 3.
Okay, so there was a man who was a sign spinner who was at work one day just spinning the sign like usual.
But suddenly something terrifying happened. The man accidentally slit his own throat with the sign. These are famous people believed to be killed, part 1.
Up first is Marilyn Monroe, and apparently she was killed by the Kennedy family. She was having an affair with Robert Kennedy,
and Robert Kennedy refused to leave his wife for Marilyn Monroe and she then threatened to go public with the affair.
Robert Kennedy did not want this, so he wanted her eliminated. Marilyn Monroe's diary was also missing, which had all the secrets to the Kennedy family.
Also, Lionel Granderson
claimed he was coerced into signing her death certificate.
So what do you guys think? Did the Kennedy family kill Marilyn Monroe?
These are facts that'll make you speechless, part 1. Up first, it will take 1.2 million mosquitoes, each sucking your blood at the same time to completely drain your blood.
Just imagine this happening to you, and the feeling you're feeling.
If somebody ever dies like this, it has to be the worst way to die ever. Up next, ancient Romans used urine as mouthwash.
Urine contains ammonia, which is one of the best cleaning agents on Earth.
I don't care what kind of benefit this does, I would never rinse my mouth with pee. Finally, female dragonflies will fake their own death to avoid mating with an unwanted male.
This is actually pretty funny, and I feel extremely bad for the male.
Just imagine a girl faking her own death because she doesn't want to be with you. This might be the worst way somebody has ever died, part 4. Okay, so we all pass by tractor trailers at least once in our lives. And have you ever thought when you pass by, what if this thing tipped over and crushed my car?
Well, a man by the name of Robert Castro experienced exactly this, but he was actually riding his bike next to a tractor trailer when it tipped over, crushing him and killing him.
These are killers that were never caught, part 1. Up first is the Axeman of New Orleans. If you watched American Horror Story Coven, then you are definitely familiar with him.
He was an active serial killer from 1917 to 1919 who brutally attacked 12 men and women
with an axe. The Axeman famously sent letters to the newspapers claiming he would spare any house that played jazz music loudly. He was never caught and nobody knows who he ever was. Next up is the Cleveland Torso Killer. This unidentified serial killer killed at least 12 people. He would then dump his victim's body in a creek, and the bodies were also limbless and headless, giving this killer the title of the Torso Killer.
This killer was never caught, and to this day, nobody knows who it was.
This might be the worst way somebody has ever died, part 5. Okay, so all of us definitely rode on a roller coaster at least once in our lives. And I guarantee we all had a fear of falling off the roller coaster. But what if I told you that fear came true for this lady named Rosa Esparza? She was riding on a roller coaster when she suddenly flew out of her seat and died. This is proof there is an afterlife, part 2. Okay, so all of us are definitely scared of demons and never want to see one in our life. But this video I'm about to show you shows a man getting absolutely tortured by a demon, and it might be one of the scariest videos ever. This is what it would look like if Earth was being destroyed by a black hole. Okay, so we all know that a black hole might be one of the most scariest things in the entire universe. And if you ever wondered what it would look like if one came to Earth, well, you're about to find out. These are pictures that will confuse your brain. Up first is a picture of what appears to be a man's butt being shoved into a baby's face. But if you take a closer look, you can actually tell that that is the man's head and his shoulder, but it just looks like it's his butt. Up next is a picture of friends holding some sort of alcohol. But if you look closely, you can tell that there is 4 bottles and only 3 hands. That is until you look to the left of the picture. You can see another person's hand holding the 4th bottle, but their arm is blending in because they're wearing camo. Finally is a picture of a man sleeping on the couch. Or at least that's what it looks like. But if you look at this photo more closely,
You can tell that that is actually a magazine on the man's face that just lines up perfectly. This is the scary truth about banks. Did you know banks are committed to lower rates until 2023? And inflation is at an all-time high. Also, Europe's rates are negative, which means it could come to the United States. But if you don't want to worry about any of this, then hit the link in my profile and download the app Outlet Finance. This is a way better savings account alternative. Also, you can earn 9% back on all your money when banks only give you back less than 1%. So hit the link in my profile, I guarantee you'll love it. You were today years old when you found these out. Up first, this is how small children get x-rays done. This is absolutely crazy and kind of funny. And the craziest part is, we were all once in one of these. This honestly looks like a torture device. Up next, turtles don't go into their shell, they are the shell. I was always told that turtles always went back into their shells, but their shell is part of their body, which is kind of mind-blowing if you ask me. Up next, did you know that the American Gothic painting depicts a farmer and his daughter, and not a farmer and his wife? My whole life, I thought that woman was his wife, and I never knew it was his daughter. Let me know if you thought that too, because I can't be the only one. These are kids' toys that got banned, part 3. Up first is this toy. This toy was called Potty Time with Elmo, and it was supposed to help kids go to the bathroom, but instead it took a disturbing turn. One of the buttons was supposed to say, uh-oh, who has to go? But instead it said, uh-oh, who wants to die? Here is that video.
It does say some phrases, though, that toddlers probably shouldn't be hearing. Here's what Elmo was supposed to say. But several books came with this sound instead. Elmo laughs, ha ha ha, and then he says, who wants to die?
These are Kid Games as Horror Movies, Part 1. Up first is the game Operation. Everyone has played this game, and it's pretty fun. But did you know there's a horror movie based off of it? The movie is called Operation, but in this movie, unqualified and unlicensed contestants compete to try to perform several operations on a conscious person using an electrified pair of tweezers. This movie sounds terrifying, especially if you played the game Operation. Next up is one of everyone's favorite games, Uno. And whoever knew that they had a horror movie based off of it? The movie is obviously called Uno, and imagine playing Uno with a connection between a demonic murderer. And whatever cards you have can decide if you live or die. For example, if you get hit with a +4, your blood will start to boil in this movie. These are facts that can maybe save your life one day, part 2. Up first, in the event that somebody tries to grab you and kidnap you, or is just making you uncomfortable, just scratch them and their DNA will be in your nails. This will make it almost impossible for that person to get away with it. Up next, if you ever wake up in the middle of the night to the smell of gas, do not turn on the light. A spark from a light switch can blow up your entire house. Finally, if you ever accidentally disturb a beehive or wasp nest, do not run for the water. They will wait for you to resurface and then continue to sting you. Just run as fast and as far away as you can, because eventually they will stop following you. This is proof that we aren't alone. Okay, so if you look at this picture, you can instantly tell it looks exactly like a giant elephant. Most people wouldn't think anything of it, and just call it a coincidence. But if you didn't know, there's a giant species of elephants called Natami-Narita elephants, and they are massive elephants whose legs stretched all the way down to the ocean floor. They also have a very long lifespan, which is around 1,000 years. So what do you think this could be? A giant elephant frozen in time, or just a coincidence? This is the scary story about the cookout. One day, a family was having a cookout when suddenly a young girl named Emily, who was 7 years old, went missing. Everybody began to panic and look for her. They all started looking around the house and the neighborhood, and even the surrounding areas for her. But Emily was not found. And after weeks of looking for Emily and not finding anything, her parents began to lose hope. But one day, Emily's parents got a letter in the mail, and written on the front was Emily's name, exactly in her handwriting. Emily's parents thought it was her writing to them, and they immediately ripped it open. But when they opened it, they froze in horror and screamed. Inside the envelope was a picture of Emily's mangled dead body with her pinky finger. These are the most common phobias to have, part 1.
Up first is arachnophobia, which is the intense fear of spiders. People who have this can simply just see a spider and it will trigger a fear response.
So if you have arachnophobia,
this photo right here is definitely giving you goosebumps. Up next is acrophobia, which is the fear of heights. This phobia impacts more than 6% of people,
and this fear can lead to severe anxiety attacks. People who have this phobia
will go to great lengths to avoid high places such as bridges, towers, or tall buildings. Finally is aerophobia, which is the fear of flying in a plane. This affects 10% to 40% of US adults, and 1 out of every 3 people have some sort of fear of flying.
These are urban legends caught on camera, part 1.
Okay, so we all definitely heard of skinwalkers, but if you haven't, a skinwalker is a type of harmful witch who has the ability to turn into, possess, or disguise himself as an animal.
The video I'm about to show you shows an extremely disturbing skinwalker, so watch at your own risk. These are facts that will make you rethink life, part 3.
Up first, we all know how unlikely it is to win the lottery, but did you know you're more likely to be killed by an asteroid than to win the lottery?
So if you or somebody you know loves buying lottery tickets,
you guys should just accept that you're never going to win. Up next, these 2 men right here are brothers and the founders of Puma and Adidas.
But not only were they brothers, but they were also Nazis.
This is kind of mind-blowing, and it's crazy that this isn't more known. Next up, we all laugh while being tickled. But did you know this is actually a panic response from your body?
It may seem like all fun and games on the outside,
but on the inside, your body is completely tweaking.
This is how long you would survive if you only ate certain foods, part 2. Up first is popcorn. If you only ate popcorn, you would die after 2.5 years. You would also develop a skin disease called pellagra that can be extremely fatal. Up next is French fries. If you only ate French fries, you would die after 3 years. This is because all the salts and fats in fries would quickly lead to a heart attack resulting in death. Up next is bread. If you only ate bread, you would die after 9 months. Your organs will fail due to a shortage of amino acids. This is what would happen if you never stopped crying. Up first, after about 20 minutes, a lot of bacteria will be killed. This is because crying helps kill bacteria and keep the eyes clean, as tears contain a fluid called lysozyme. Up next, after about 40 minutes, your eyes will be insanely bloodshot, and the more that you cry, the redder your eyes will get. Next up, after about an hour and a half, you will begin to get a headache. This is the first sign that you are crying for too long, and the headache won't go away until you stop crying. Next up, after about 3 hours, you will begin to get dehydrated. This is because you cried so much, and your body is starting to run out of water. This might be the craziest story you will ever hear.
In 1904, a Swedish sailor named Carl Peterson shipwrecked on an island that was inhabited by cannibals.
He was beaten and then captured, and then taken to their king, whose daughter fell in love with him.
He then married the king's daughter, and had 9 children with her.
And the craziest part is,
he actually became the king after his father-in-law died.
So this guy crashed his ship on an island full of cannibals,
and instead of getting eaten, he actually became their king.
This is the disturbing truth behind the Despicable Me minions. Okay, so the minions are based off a horrific Nazi experiment that took place in 1944. They put heavy metal helmets on Jewish children so they couldn't see or speak properly. They were also so heavy, it stunted all the children's growth. These kids were tortured as much as they possibly could be. I don't think I could ever look at Despicable Me the same ever again. These are disturbing drawings done by insane asylum patients, part 1.
Up first is a drawing done by a patient who had paranoid schizophrenia. And in this drawing, he said he's trying to communicate his depressions.
This is actually pretty disturbing, especially because how creepy it is.
And once you know the meaning of the painting, it adds a completely different view. Next up is a drawing done by a patient who is also a paranoid schizophrenic. And in this drawing, he is portraying one of his hallucinations. This is actually very chilling, not only because how creepy this thing is,
but because that's what the patient was actually seeing.
Finally is this drawing. This was done by a patient who said, "This drawing represents the minds that come out of his own mind." This is extremely creepy and disturbing for us, but just imagine being that patient.
This is proof that we aren't alone.
This video I'm about to show you shows a skinwalker disguised as a goat.
If you don't know what a skinwalker is, it is a creature who has the ability
To turn into, possess, or disguise himself as an animal.
Here is the video of the skinwalker. These are extreme plastic surgery fails, part 1.
These are the Bogdanov twins. And if you look at them in this picture, they look absolutely normal with nothing wrong with them.
But these two brothers decided to get a lot of plastic surgery, and the result is actually shocking.
They got an insane amount of Botox, lip fillers, and chin sculpting in the 1990s and 2000s, which resulted in changes so extensive that they are virtually unrecognizable and kinda look alien-like.
I don't know if I should find this fascinating or absolutely terrifying.
But nonetheless, this has to be the worst plastic surgery fail ever.
These are photos taken before disaster, part 1.
Up first is this picture. This looks like an ordinary picture of a man just playing with his camera, but this is actually Michael Rockefeller, last time being seen alive, before he was cannibalized by this tribe in New Guinea. These people legit killed him, cooked him, and then ate him. Up next is this photo. This is a picture of the Twin Towers a day before 9/11, and the storm clouds seem very scary and ominous.
The towers stand out clearly from the waters, and the weird dark setting
Reminds America and Americans on what they would experience in the upcoming days.
These are banned apps around the world, part 1. Up first is the app Girls Around Me. This app is extremely creepy, and it's mainly just for creeps. This app allows you to locate and stalk any girl around you, and it's just extremely weird. The only people who would say this app isn't weird are the ones who are using it to stalk girls. Next up is the app called WikiLeaks. This app is banned because it posts highly classified documents online, from conspiracy theories to top secret things that us citizens are never supposed to know about. This app actually sounds super interesting, and it's something I know a lot of us would be interested in, but some higher up people don't want us to see these documents. This is what would happen if you never stopped riding a roller coaster. Up first, right when you finish the first ride, you will then not get off the roller coaster and continue going. At first you will feel extremely happy, and you will feel less stressed. But as you continue to ride it, you will then begin to throw up. This is because of the constant motion your body is undergoing. Next up, your back and neck will begin to hurt. This is because all the quick and abrupt movements put extra pressure on your spine. Next up, you will have disturbed balance. It will feel like the world is spinning around you at 1,000 miles per hour. This will then result in more puking. Next up, you will black out. The G-force of the roller coaster will briefly deprive the brain of blood and oxygen, resulting in you passing out. These are pictures that get worse the longer you look at them, part 2. Up first is this picture. At first glance, it just looks like a normal photo of all the Disney princesses. That is until you take a closer look at it. Just stare at this photo for like 5 seconds and I guarantee you will feel weird. Next up is this photo. Just looking at this photo makes my hand hurt. And whoever took or made this photo, shame on you. Next up is a picture of the cast from Friends. Or at first glance, that's what it looks like. But the longer that you stare at this photo, you will notice that's not the case. I'm definitely going to have nightmares after looking at this photo. These are facts that will make you rethink life, part 2. Up first, if your lungs were opened up and laid out, they would cover the entire size of a tennis court. This is actually insane, and I honestly cannot wrap my head around it. I never knew our lungs were that big. Up next, scientists have been saying that Earth will soon have its own rings like Saturn, and they will be made of space junk. It's actually crazy that there is this much garbage in space, and what's even crazier is that Earth might get a garbage ring. Up next, there is no red light 30 feet underwater, so blood appears green. This is actually super interesting and I never knew this, but let me know if any of you were ever that deep underwater and your blood turned green. This is what would happen if all the water on Earth disappeared. First, all the clouds will disappear and the sky will change colors. And it will never rain again. Next, all the boats that were in the ocean will begin the freefall thousands upon thousands of feet. This is because there is no water in the ocean and they're just endless craters now. Also, all fish and sea life will die since there is no more water to keep them alive. Next up, without water to wash our hands, us humans will be spreading disease rapidly. And 1 out of every 4 people will become sick. People will then become extremely dehydrated since there is no water to drink. Finally, just after 3 days of Earth having no water, millions of people will be dead, with millions more probably dying. This is the scary story about the new parents. There was a kid named Michael who was coming downstairs for breakfast. When he sat down at the table to eat, his mom and dad both looked at him and said good morning. Michael said good morning back and they both continued to talk to him. Michael then noticed that something was off. He noticed that his parents were never this nice, especially in the morning. Michael then asked his mom and dad if they were okay, and they both looked at him with a smile on their face and said, "Yes, honey, we never been better." Michael then finished breakfast and went back upstairs. But as he was walking back to his room, he noticed that one of the hallway doors was cracked open a little bit. Michael then went over to close it when he smelled something terrible. He then opened the door, and what he saw made his stomach drop. Inside were his mom and dad's dead bodies. This is how much of different foods you need to eat to kill you, part 6. Up first is watermelon. You would have to eat 5 whole watermelons in one sitting to kill you. Eating this much watermelon will make your brain swell. So whatever you do, do not eat 5 watermelons. Next up are Tic Tacs. You would have to eat 6,000 Tic Tacs to die. I don't think anybody is doing this, and I don't think it's even possible. But I know a lot of people like Tic Tacs, so whatever you do, don't eat over 6,000 of them. Up next are cucumbers. You would have to eat 978 cucumbers to die. I feel like you will get sick of cucumbers before you even get to that amount. But let's hope nobody ever does because you will die. These are pictures that get worse the longer you look at them. Up first is this picture. At first it just looks like an old man standing next to a flipped car, but if you look more closely, you can see his poor wife is still in the car, and he's already out standing there for a photo. And not only that, but look at this guy's pants. Up next is this photo. This photo is just hard to look at, especially when you try and say the alphabet. And the longer that you look at this, the more you realize how wrong this is. I wonder who put the letters in there. Up next is this photo. At first glance, it just looks like a normal painting until you realize that it's painted on some guy's face. Once you notice that, you cannot unsee it. These are pictures that broke the internet, part 6. Up first is the picture of that shoe that took everybody by storm. Half the people thought it was white and pink, and the other half thought it was gray and teal. I don't know what you think, but this is definitely pink and white. Next up is this picture. This picture went completely viral. Some people thought it was very cool, and others thought it was very gross. But luckily, this photo was photoshopped and it's not real. Finally is a picture of a mall that was flooded, and sharks began swimming around it. This is extremely terrifying, and anybody would be scared in this situation. Many people believe this photo is fake, but a lot of people also think it's real. Would you rather be able to control the weather or control time? These are the hardest would you rather questions in the world, part 10. Up first, would you rather live in reality for the rest of your life, or be able to live in the MCU for the rest of your life? I'll definitely have to go with the MCU, because I would like some superpowers. Up next, would you rather never be able to laugh again, or never be able to make eye contact again? I'll go with never being able to laugh again, because not making eye contact forever will be really awkward. Finally, would you rather have 3 arms or 3 legs? I'll go with 3 arms, because I would be 100 times more productive. This is why you should never drink soda again. We all know that soda isn't the best thing to drink. But did you know that soda is made with so much sugar that your body literally isn't supposed to handle it? When somebody drinks soda, the insanely high dose of sugar would naturally make you vomit. But this doesn't happen because the soda companies use some sort of phosphoric acid to cut the flavor to allow your body to keep the puke down. This actually makes you think how bad soda is for you. But if you end up still drinking soda, just remember it's so unhealthy that you should actually be puking from it. The average adult spends more time on the toilet than they do exercising. These are useless facts that will blow your mind, part 2. Up first, our body contains 100,000 miles of blood vessels. This is extremely crazy if you think about it, and is kinda hard to believe. Up next, the average person spends about 2.5 days a year looking for lost items. This makes perfect sense, because I know everybody loses things, and then end up looking for it for hours and still can't find it. Finally, the person who invented Pringles is actually buried in a Pringles can. This is actually pretty cool, and I bet this is exactly what he wanted. This is what would happen if Earth's atmosphere disappeared. First, the sky would turn completely black, and there would be no sound on Earth. Next, planes and birds, and anything else in the sky, would begin to fall down to the ground. Next up, none of us would be able to breathe, resulting in suffocating. Next up, all of our organs would then shut down, and your lungs may explode. And anybody that survives all this would then get severely bad sunburn, since there is no atmosphere to protect you from UV radiation. Finally, all plants will die, and all water will boil away. This is the disturbing truth behind Dr. Seuss. We all know that Dr. Seuss wrote children books, and I know that all of them read them before. But did you know this dark secret behind him? Dr. Seuss cheated on his wife, Ellen Palmer, who was sick with cancer. As a result of this, she decided to overdose and take her own life. And this is what her suicide note read: "I am too old and enmeshed in everything that you do and are, that I cannot conceive life without you. My going will leave quite a rumor, but you can say I overworked and overwrought. Your reputation with friends and fans will not be harmed." These are the slowest ways that you can die. Up first is having an allergic reaction. If you are having an allergic reaction and you forget your EpiPen, it will take you 15 minutes to die. That's a very uncomfortable and extremely long death. Next up is drowning. When some people drown, it only takes them about 10 minutes to die. But if you resist and fight for your life, it can last a lot longer. It will then take about 30 minutes to die. I can't even imagine dying this way. Next up is freezing to death. It will take you around 3 hours to die. This has to be a very uncomfortable and painful death, and honestly, just an awful way to die. Have you ever wondered what the Earth would look like if it was being destroyed? Well, you're about to find out. This is how Earth looks perfectly normal. Just a normal planet floating in space. But this is what Earth looks like when it's being destroyed. Up first is this one. Now, this would be a perfect grid if the sides weren't all meshed up and morphed. But if you stare into the center of it, it fixes itself. Up next is this one. Nothing too crazy at first, but tell me how many black dots you see. Despite what you're seeing right now, there are in fact no black dots. Nobody has an explanation on why we see black dots on this optical illusion. Finally is this one. Now, some people would say that this photo is animated and it's moving, but it's not. It's your eyes playing tricks on you, making it look like this photo is moving. I guarantee if you stare at this long enough, your brain will start to hurt. These are the grossest things ever found in food. Up first, a woman named Rebecca Shorten was eating microwaved mac and cheese when she suddenly ate multiple human nails. They then cut her throat severely, and she was hospitalized for 4 days. So next time you have microwaved mac and cheese, make sure to look for nails. Up next is an extremely gross one.
A man named Sans Claus
was eating a steak at a restaurant
when he realized that there was a tampon in his steak, and he accidentally ate it.
He said that he had it in his mouth and he chewed it, and said he nearly swallowed it.
Just imagine eating a steak and realizing you have a tampon inside of it.
These are pictures that you have to look at twice.
Up first is this photo. This photo looks like it's two pictures in one, but it's actually just one photo.
The gravestones are making a straight line, making it look like there's two separate photos.
This picture is extremely cool. Next up is this photo. At first glance, this looks like an art project or just a fake picture, but it's not.
This is actually just all one photo.
And you have a different scenery in every single opening. This is extremely cool, and I wonder who took this photo. Finally is this photo. At first glance, this photo does not look real, but if you look at it again, you can tell it's all just one photo. The lake underneath the mountain is making this picture look like there are two photos in one. But nonetheless, this photo is extremely satisfying.
This is how North Korea trains their soldiers.
덤벼든다면 조국의 평온을 지켜 한몸 그대로 무쇠 두목이 되고 번개 같은 비수가 될 굳은 교리가 가슴마다에 비껴 있습니다.
This is the scary story about asking for help.
There was a woman named Carly who lived on the 3rd floor of an apartment building.
One night she was trying to sleep when she heard a man's voice struggling to speak.
She thought she was imagining it, but she swore she heard the man say, "Help me."
She then shrugged her shoulders and went to bed.
The next morning when she woke up, she heard sirens outside of her window.
She then looked outside of her window and stopped in horror.
Outside her window was a man hanging dead from a tree. The police report said that it was a suicide, but he regretted it at the last second and began to struggle.
Carly couldn't believe what she heard, because she heard the man asking for help,
but she thought she was imagining it. Carly then got on her knees and began to cry, knowing she could have saved this man's life.
This man was stabbed through his brain and he still survived.
In 1998, a man named Michael Hill was stabbed in the brain while answering the door at his friend's house.
The crazy part is all of his functions and conscience was healed within a week.
But the knife did cause permanent damage to his memory, which is honestly the only bad side effect.
To this day, this was the largest object ever removed from a human brain.
The fact that this man did not die from this is a complete miracle. Just look how far down that knife goes.
This is what the flat earth would actually look like.
So we all heard of the flat earth theory, and that many people believe that the earth is flat.
But nobody knows what the earth would actually look like if it was flat until now.
This video shows exactly what the earth would look like if it was flat.
These are the craziest laws around the world, part 1. Up first, in Bolivia, married women are only allowed to have 1 glass of wine in public. And if they have more than one, they have to get a divorce. How is this even a law? Next up, in Australia, if you are not a certified electrician, it is illegal to change light bulbs. And if you do change your own light bulb, you will be hit with a fine. Next, it is illegal to chew gum in Singapore. And if you get caught, it will be a $1,000 fine. How is chewing gum illegal? Finally, in Samoa, if you forget your wife's birthday, you can actually go to jail for a couple of days. So I recommend men who live there to remember their wife's birthday. Would you rather be reborn into the past or into the future? These are the hardest would you rather questions in the world, part 9. Up first, would you rather never be able to use deodorant again? Or never be able to brush your teeth again? I'll go with never using deodorant again, because I'll rather have BO than rotting teeth. Next up, would you rather live in North Korea for a year, or be in prison for a year? I'll have to go with live in North Korea for a year because I think that country is very fascinating. Next, would you rather never be able to watch movies again or never be able to watch TV shows again? I'll have to go with never watch TV shows again because I like movies way more than TV shows. North Korea banned Mother's Day and you won't believe why. If you thought North Korea couldn't get worse, well, you're wrong. North Korea banned Mother's Day for honestly the weirdest reason ever. They banned Mother's Day because it was distracting citizens from their love for Kim Jong-un. And Kim Jong-un didn't want his citizens to love somebody more than him. North Korea is the only country that would try to make their citizens love their leader more than their own mother. This is actually crazy, and let me know what you think about this. These are the worst countries to get arrested, part 3. Up first is Nigeria. To be put in prison in Nigeria, you don't even need to be convicted of a crime. Think of it as a detention center where you get crammed in with dozens of other inmates in a completely filthy room while you wait for your trial. So if you ever get arrested in Nigeria, do not expect to get out soon. Next up is Russia. First, the police in Russia aren't of the highest standard, and the Russian prison system is known for being filled with corruption, brutality, and a complete lack of human rights. Some prisons that they use are from the 1600s. Also, the guards are very abusive, and disease is rampant here. So, I recommend you do not get arrested in Russia. This is what it would look like if the sun exploded. Okay, so we all know how big and scary the sun is, and how powerful it is. If the sun exploded randomly, all life on Earth would cease to exist. The sun is what keeps us going. But have you ever wondered what it would look like if it exploded? Well, if so, you're about to find out. These are the biggest lies that school taught us, part 2. Up first is that you can see the Great Wall of China from space. This actually isn't true at all. It is nearly impossible to see the Great Wall of China from space with a naked eye. I don't know why they told us this in school, but they did. Up next is that George Washington had white hair. This actually isn't true at all. And George Washington was actually a ginger, but every morning he put white powder on his hair to make it white. Up next is that Ben Franklin discovered electricity with a kite and a key. We all heard this story in school, but it's 100% fake. It's actually just a made-up scenario that Ben Franklin wrote for a very popular publication. These are things you didn't know your body could do. Up first, we all have superhuman strength. When we are put in stressful situations, our body produces a lot more adrenaline, which makes us 35% stronger. Up next, your smell actually triggers memories. Certain things that you smell can bring you back in time because that smell reminds you of a memory, meaning that we can actually time travel just a little bit. Next up, human hair is actually stronger than steel. Just one singular strand of human hair is stronger than steel. Let me know if you knew this. And would you ever thought that hair is stronger than steel? We just found the biggest star in the entire universe. Okay, so we all know how massive our sun is and how powerful it is. But what if I told you that we just found a star that makes our sun look like a crumb? And I'm about to show you how big it is.